Welcome. Obviously a tough season didn't end the way we wanted, the way we expected, the standards that the Rockets organization and Mr. Alexander has set for years. We win at the Rockets. I think under Mr. Alexander we've only had 2 or 3 losing seasons ever. We're here to win championships, so losing in the first round is not something that we consider successful. So we're set up well going forward. We have top players in the league. We've got as much cap room as almost any team in the playoffs. We have young players who are improving. Clint Capella, Montrezl Harrell, KJ McDaniels up and down the roster. We've got all our draft picks going forward after this year. We know we're going to turn this around. We know we're going to pick a great coach. Mr. Alexander's history on picking great coaches is pretty unparalleled. All of them have stayed 4 years. All of them have won a huge percentage of their games. We're gonna get the coach search right. We're gonna get someone in here who's gonna help turn this around. Obviously the off season is big, but we're set up well. I mean, part of this disappointing season, comes from all of our success. I mean, again, we have the 3rd best record in the entire NBA over the last 10 years. That's not our goal, but we've made the Western Conference Finals as much as only 3 teams in the West. So we win a lot here. But one of the ways we win is we're not bad. We don't pick high. Most of these teams are built by picking high. Because we don't pick high, we have to take bets on our roster. We have to take bets on players that maybe other teams don't see is going to turn out. Maybe they're guys like Pat Beverly, who we got several years ago, who turn out to be great players. We have to take those gambles that other teams in the leagues don't see, because we're not picking in the top 5. We're not even picking in the top 10. In fact, we haven't even picked in the top 14 in 10 years. So, top 13, sorry. So, this was a year when this is on me. A lot of the guys we brought in didn't work out. That's on me. We're going to do better. We're going to get back to Rockets basketball. We're going to get back to winning. With that, I'll take questions.
Daryl, could you talk about where JD fits in right now?
Yeah, so we're doing a thorough coaching search. Coach Bickerstaff was thrown into a tough situation. I thought he did a solid job. Obviously none of us got as far as we wanted. He's going to be someone under consideration.
How would you describe the coach you're looking for, the guy who's right for this team at this time? How do you describe that?
I think it's going to be someone who embodies what we need, which is we need to get our defense stronger. I don't get too caught up into this coach is this style, this coach is that style. I think a lot of times teams make mistakes in this instance. They go opposite. A lot of times they make mistakes. They do it quick. They add someone quickly. A lot of times, so we're not going to do something quickly. We're not going to do maybe what people see as opposite. I can't tell you exactly what we're going to do because we just started. So we're going to do a thorough search, and we're going to get it right. That's all I can say.
Daryl, you hired by the draft?
I think ideally we'd have a coach hired by yesterday. I think the most important thing is we get the coaching search correct. And so we're going to take as long as that takes.
In the past, you've hired a coach that fit the roster in a
Correct.
way, style that you wanted. This time, because you're expecting a huge roster adjustment, is it a little more challenging or different kind of a challenge than hiring a coach?
Yeah, I think it's more of a challenge. We obviously have, as I mentioned, all that cap room. Might be more free agents than usual, or more significant free agents than normal. We'll see. That'll pan out over time. We know we're building around James Harden. Dwight Howard's a free agent. He's got a decision. So we don't know whether he'll be back or not. It's a little bit more of a moving target as a roster at this point, which does make it slightly more difficult. But we're going to find a good coach. We're going to do what we've done every time. Changing coaches midstream is not something we like to do, not something we have a history of doing. I mean, we have the least coach turnover of every team in the league over Mr. Alexander's tenure. Then only Utah has had less turnover. So we don't change coaches very often. You know, it's been disappointing that people, you know, and obviously we're all disappointed in the season, but it's been disappointing that people are painting, you know, the season we just had and trying to make it into a larger thing than what it is, which is, you know, one season that was disappointing in a sea of lots of seasons that were successful, but not as successful as we want, but for sure not like the entire sort of negative environment that seems to be people trying to paint. And it's smart for other teams to try and paint us in sort of a negative light. It's a very competitive free agent situation. All the articles you see out there are all other teams trying to, I think very smartly trying to paint our situation as negative. But I think any free agent that looks at us, they're going to see the history of winning, third best winning percentage of the league over the last 10 years, almost no losing seasons. We win at a very high level. There's very few teams that can put their track record of winning against ours.
You mentioned that Dwight is going to be a free agent. Has he or his representatives told you that?
He has the option to be a free agent. That's
Okay.
what I should say. No, there's been no news there. He has obviously a player option that is up to him to whether take it. You know, if he chooses that, if he's back, then that'll be great. We have a great center. So.
Speaking of, you talk about painting the team in a negative light. Would you address the talk or whatever, the same kind of paint that players don't want to play with James Harden, or that'll be difficult for you to get players to play with James?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just very smart, you know, strategic positioning. I had to address some of that last year when, you know, a certain owner was painting our team in a bad light. You know, this year it's no different. I think it's very smart that other teams are trying to paint, you know, our players in a bad light. It's going to be a very competitive free agent situation. James Harden, I don't know who wouldn't want to play with him. Top 5 player in the league, unbelievable passer, unbelievable scorer, a guy you can build around. Everything we hear is that people only want to play with him.
Daryl, you said the players the things that went wrong last year is on you. How important, when you go down the checklist, is chemistry when you're putting this roster together?
I think it's hugely important. I don't remember, maybe you wrote one, I don't remember how our chemistry with the same players was great last year. Did you write one of those articles? No, I don't remember those. I don't remember the articles last year that said how great our guys were together. That's a label that people throw on a team when it's not going well. The reality is we didn't have enough guys playing together and playing well. Last year we had a lot of guys playing well and playing together. The reality of the NBA, and I accept it, is when you have a down year, people are going to write negative things. That happens. But the reality is it's the same group of guys. They had good chemistry. We just didn't play as well.
Can you put your finger on why?
When the players said it was dysfunction, and Jason Terry says we weren't strong enough to overcome those distractions. What are your thoughts?
That comes from not winning as much as we expected to win. I mean, we went into this year, I went into this year thinking, you know, we were going to be right there as a Western Conference contender. When we weren't, you know, for various reasons, injuries, guys not playing as well, it's the convenient thing to say the chemistry's bad. Again, I didn't hear anyone writing about how great our chemistry was last year, so I don't know how the same group of guys suddenly became bad chemistry. Well, not trying to question what Jason Terry says, because he's in the locker room, he knows. The reality is we lost games, so everyone's trying to figure out why we're losing games. And the reality is our defense was a lot worse, and a lot of that was, you know, guys not playing, you know, as well as we needed them to play.
Daryl, it's obviously easy to look back now, but when you look back at the decision to fire Kevin 11 games in the season, how do you look back at that? And I mean, do you regret that now, that it maybe was too early to make that call, considering how the season unfolded?
I think we made the best decision with what information we had at the time. We were losing by double digits at home to not good teams. We were a team that was trying to contend for the Western Conference championship, if not the overall championship. It wasn't working. We felt like that was the best decision at the time. I did think that we were going to turn things around more. We didn't. Do we know that that was the right decision? We don't. We don't know what would have happened if we hadn't done it. I thought JB did a very good job stabilizing things, getting us into the playoffs, making us competitive. I wanted more than that. I think we all wanted more than that, and it didn't happen.
So the chemistry, I understand that, but I mean, whether it was the second half in game 4, after it was tied to be 6, or game 5, I mean, there were a lot of no-shows. How do you view that as a GM in terms of?
I view it, yeah, A, we didn't play well, but B, we're playing maybe the best team ever. So, I mean, it's I shouldn't get frustrated, but I'm just going to get frustrated for a minute. And that's, you know, there are teams swept out of the playoffs, and we're not hearing about how they have a problem. There are teams that supposedly have great chemistry and great coaching situation that lost the same as us, and I don't hear about them. So, and they don't have our track record of winning. So, for me, you know, it was a disappointing year. Obviously, expectations got us, and we won expectations. That means we have great players, and we're set up to win. But to go from those expectations to somehow, you know, the Rockets don't know how to win when we've won more than almost any team in the league, you know, it's frustrating. And the players want to be here. We have a great city. We got a great owner. We got great players to join. The players know that. We're not worried about free agency. And we're set up so well going forward.
Daryl, was any light shed on the situation during the exit interviews? Were you getting to the bottom of?
Yeah, I mean, we do those. I'd say the main goal of those is actually to set up the off season, to make sure guys are working on the right things, improving, give them their schedule. That said, we obviously do get feedback from them on what happened, you know, the prior season. And, you know, once you get to the last game, if you don't know what's going on, then you don't need to hear it in a meeting. So there's not a lot of enlightening information on that front, but we want to make sure guys are focused on what basketball skills and what part of their body they need to improve, give them their schedule for the summer. That's the main goal of those meetings.
Do you have a plan on when you expect to talk to Howard about his future?
I can't talk to him until July 1, yeah, so.
What are your priorities as far as your roster is concerned right now? Is that something you would mind getting into?
We have to shore up the defense one way or the other. That'd be the priority. I hate to be so vague, but it's early in the process, so.
How important is it for you to get into the first round of the draft? Is that something you're looking to do?
That's not, I mean, we always look to do that. We always look to maximize. I mean, you know, we obviously had a trade that got canceled that got us into the draft. I do think it's healthy for a team to have a set of young players. We have Capella and Harrell and Decker and, you know, have a stream of young players. I think it's very healthy for the locker room, for the chemistry of the team, for everything. So we have 2 picks in the second round. We have had good success in the second round, so we're happy where we are. If there's an opportunity to move up, you know, we'll do it as well.
Dwight obviously has to make his decision, but do you believe as a GM with everything you have that Dwight and James, I mean, if Dwight does come back or you resign, I mean, that you can build this team with Dwight and James as your 2 guys?
I mean, I would say, you know, we need great player to go along with James. You know, Dwight Howard is a great player, so it's for sure an option we're looking at.
Going back to the coaching search, you guys do have a certain style that you have played in favor for some time. How important is it for a coach to either embrace or accept, or whatever word you would use, that style to going forward? Would you continue that?
I would say different. I think maybe Jerome asked the question, like, I think it's, you know, we're going to have a large majority of the players we have back next season, you know, especially the ones for sure under contract. So it's important for, I think, the coach to fit the skills and the talents of those players. So a lot of our players are set up to be good in transition. A lot of our players are long, you know, athletic defenders. So, you know, that fit matters, I would say, yes.
And the whole pace and space and up-tempo you mentioned, but is that still probably a way to go? Or a coach who maybe hasn't used that in the past or kind of embraced it to the level that you guys have, would he have to then express that that's what he wants to do?
We're open to, you know, all styles, going in, we're open to all styles of coaches. We're not sort of limiting ourselves to a particular, you know, preconceived notion of what they can do.
So Dick Motta comes in, walks it up, 22 seconds of offense.
Dale Harris.
That was a good reference, Jonathan. So.
Sports is so unpredictable, but how surprised you'd be standing here right now instead of we're going to the
Yeah,
second
very.
round?
I mean, not as surprising when we were the 8th seed playing one of the best teams of all time. So that we knew that was going to be a challenge going in, but surprising relative to what we all hoped for in October. Yeah, absolutely.
Donatus is a restricted free agent. You mentioned that trade. You guys have, with restricted free agents, have always kind of taken that stance you'll match any offer. Is that the view on Donatus, or?
Yeah, they just passed a bunch of memos, and I can't talk about that. So,
Okay.
So I apologize, I can't.
No problem.
Yeah.
You said you were frustrated. Obviously, this team got a lot of negativity nationally. Why do you think that was? I mean, it seemed a little bit overboard this year.
Again, I mean, I think it's smart. I think, it's a very competitive free agent situation coming up, and, being kicked while you're down, I think, is a smart strategy by, teams leaking things or trying to put stuff out there that make us look bad.
Do you ever call them up and call them on it? Say, hey, what are you doing to these other teams?
Yeah, I mean, I try not to do it. If I did that publicly last year, maybe we'll have to do something again. We'll see. So.
By all means.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll give you the first call. So. Anything else? Thanks. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Daryl.